Welcome to Mindful Life. My name's Jill Higgins, and today I'm going to talk about the use of mindfulness as a tool for families whose children suffer from drug resistant epilepsy. I'm talking to Sarah Garland, founder of the Daisy Garland, a charity that supports children and families affected by this life threatening condition. The charity has helped to put the ketogenic diet on the map in the UK as a recognised treatment for the condition, and it's funded over 30 keto dietitians and support workers within the NHS, offering a free advisory service to thousands of families countrywide, a staggering investment of £2.8 million. The charity also provides grants for epilepsy monitors for use at home, and in recent years it's broadened its support to include a garden project for children, green shoots, and free online mindfulness courses. In fact, this is how Sarah and I met during lockdown, introduced by a mutual friend. I started to develop the courses for the charity, which we continue to hold nationwide. Sarah and I co-host the sessions, and they take place on Zoom with 20 to 40 parents, carers, NHS dietitians, and health workers associated with the charity. During the sessions, we meditate, and I explain the week's practical theme whilst helping the group develop their mindfulness practice. Welcome to Mindful Life, Sarah. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Now, I wonder if we might just start at the very beginning. And could you share with us why it is you started the Daisy Garland?
Well, we started the charity because we wanted to give other families the opportunity to have the help and support that we didn't have when our daughter was diagnosed with epilepsy. Daisy was diagnosed when she was 4.5 months old, and it came as a huge shock to us. Her epilepsy came out of the blue, her first seizure came out of the blue. We spent an awfully long time in hospital, and when we left, we were just told, "You're strong parents, go home and just enjoy Daisy for as long as you have her." And that was really tough, and we just didn't have any help or support. Daisy died in her sleep from epilepsy when she was 6 years old. And when she died, we thought we just want to start a charity in Daisy's memory to give other families the help and support we didn't have but so badly needed.
Sarah, can you share with us how drug resistant epilepsy affects children from your experience and also the experience that you've gained as head of this charity that you set up?
Oh my God, it's catastrophic for children and also for their families. Drug resistant epilepsy is when medication is not touching or taking the edge off the seizures. So your child can be on a huge cocktail of medication and be having side effects from that medication as well. So Daisy was having hundreds and hundreds of seizures every day and every night. She was on a cocktail of medication and it wasn't controlling her epilepsy. So it's really, really difficult standing by and watching your child just sleeping or seizing and just being incredibly poorly, and you can't do anything to help them. And the medical profession can't do anything to help them. Drug resistant epilepsy is awful.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you came to bring the keto diet in and what that diet is and how it can help some of the children?
There are 60,000 children in the UK who have epilepsy, and roughly 18,000 of those children have drug resistant epilepsy. Potentially, their epilepsy could be helped by the ketogenic diet. It is an incredibly clever diet. It's been around since the 1920s, and it's a high fat diet, low carb. It turns the metabolism upside down, so the body burns fat for energy instead of carbohydrates. It seems that when the body isn't burning glucose, it's burning fat for energy instead. The ketogenic diet is a medically recognized diet, It is mathematically calculated. You need a specialist dietitian who is trained in the ketogenic diet to calculate your child's calories and their nutritional allowance for each meal that they eat every day. It can often calm seizure activity, and in some cases, it can stop seizure activity completely.
Can you give us an idea? How might a day look for parents of children with a form of drug resistant epilepsy?
Every day is bleak, to be honest with you, because you don't get very much sleep at all if your child has got drug resistant epilepsy. You're always on high alert. You're just always on edge, always just looking at your child, waiting for a seizure, waiting to catch them if they fall. It's really difficult. Your day might start at 3 o'clock in the morning with your child having a seizure. You might be administering emergency medication. Your child could be completely hyperactive, screaming, running around. The days are incredibly long, incredibly sad. It breaks your heart over and over and over again.
And in terms of dealing with that as a parent and to obviously be there to support your child as best you can you tell us a little bit about how mindfulness comes into this story? I'm really interested to know where that started for you.
I think it started really from the depths of despair. It was at a time when medication was making Daisy worse. Nothing we were doing was helping at all. It was a very, very bleak time, just getting through the days. I can remember when Daisy finally settled and went to bed, I would go outside into the back garden and just look up at the stars and just breathe. Somehow it just felt grounding and taking the time to stop and be alone. And I found that really helped. Little did I know that that was actually a form of what I now know as mindfulness.
We often talk about mindfulness being that ability to drop into the present moment, which I think is that moment of stillness and looking into the stars. So, that present moment awareness, because we spend so much of our time on autopilot. So, coming in without judgment, with acceptance of how it is. And you and I have often talked about the importance of bringing in the self kindness as well. So, doing that, dropping into the present moment with a kindness to yourself, which I think is often quite a rare thing, particularly as you've described as a parent, having those real struggles on a daily basis. I'm wondering what that word means for you, that mindfulness.
For me, I think the word mindfulness means stillness and non striving. So just looking up at those stars, not having to run around or watch or be on red alert. It was the end of the day and I was going to start again tomorrow.
So it gave you almost a pause or a break or a moment to refill your own tank, maybe?
Absolutely.
I know that you practice mindfulness, Sarah, but can I ask you how you practice it? Because I think this is often a stumbling block for people who come to mindfulness. They get wrapped up in it, often being an extra thing that they've got to do.
Well, I practice at home or in the office, and I'm getting better and better at remembering to practice mindfulness. I tend to do it in tiny steps. When I wake up in the morning, I do a grounding exercise and just drop into my own body, if you like, before I leap up and start going into overdrive. I just lay there and tune into my breathing. And I say in my head, here we are, here's another day, and let's get going, and I'm ready for the day ahead. I practice first thing, and then throughout the day in the office, when I go and make a cup of tea or get a glass of water, I remember then as I'm running the tap or I'm sipping the water, just to be mindful and in the moment.
I think it's really powerful what you say about when we remember to do it. Because again, even with the best intentions, we can end up slogging through something or ploughing on and not taking those breaks to have a moment for ourselves or a way really to drop it in to the day without it feeling like that extra thing to do.
Absolutely. The last thing you want is something else on your to-do list, and you don't want it to feel like a chore.
Yeah.
You just want to sort of slot it into your day as you go along. Washing my hands, just tuning into the smell of the soap, the feel of the soap on my hands,
Mm.
gently drying my hands. When we're all busy, you're drying your hands in a paper towel hastily and going out the door with your hands still half wet, and you're back into to-do list zone. But just stopping and thinking, "Oh, I'm washing my hands and the soap smells lovely and I'm going to dry them gently, and I'll even put some hand cream on."
Do you know what? I was just going to say, I know that you're at home today. I'm at home too. It's a Sunday afternoon. The sun is coming through the window. And what have I got on my desk here? I've got the hand cream that you bought me, which is actually one of my favorite mindfulness rituals. Taking a moment, just stopping and taking in that scent, because our mindfulness encourages us to engage with those senses rather than just plow on.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, our little dog, Flossie, she comes into the office with me every day. So when I take her for a walk at lunchtime, we walk along by the river and I just notice everything, the buds on the trees and the birds singing and the ducks or the seagulls in the water. And I just tune into all these things. Before I started practicing mindfulness, I would sometimes walk to work and I'd suddenly be putting my key in the office door and I think, how did I get here? I don't even remember walking here. I had a head full of, I've got to do this, I mustn't forget this. And that's so sad because you miss big chunks of your life.
Now, you know that I've got quite a good collection of mindfulness books, and you and I have had conversations about books we liked before. And I'm wondering, do you have at the moment a favorite go to book that you tap into or that you just love and you would recommend?
Oh, I do. I do. I do.
Go on then. What is it?
My absolute firm favourite at the moment is The Mindfulness Playbook by Dr. Barbara Mariposa. It's a wonderful book and it's the perfect size to put into your coat pocket or your handbag. It's straightforward, it's passionate, it's profound, and I absolutely love it.
Now, I know this is going to sound a little bit like Desert Island Discs. We're going to do our own mindfulness version here. We're not going to do 10 tracks, but I do want to ask you if you've got a favorite track or piece of music or album that you somehow associate with your mindfulness practice.
I have indeed, and it's a song called If You Are So Beautiful. It's from Katie Melua's album In Winter. It's a really, really lovely track. It's mesmerizing and it's very, very beautiful. In fact, the whole album is very grounding and peaceful.
Now, we talked at the start about when we remember to practice. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what helps you to keep going. Is there something that helps to sustain you or keep you on track in some way?
Well, I think the thing that really, really keeps me on track is meditating online with our Daisy Garland tribe, our weekly mindfulness sessions, being part of a like minded community, knowing that we're all there together, we have a really, really special bond. Practicing together online feels honest and deep and meaningful. And it really does feel like we are all together on a journey of hope.
It's interesting because you and I began these sessions during lockdown, so we had no choice. And I was really worried, if I'm honest with you, about how this would be. But I think you and I have both seen the benefit of being able to bring together a nationwide community, which we could never have done in a village hall. So it's given us a safe space where we can join, see each other, share thoughts at the end.
It's really surprised me how close we all are and how much people get out of it. And at the end of every session, people get in touch and say, "That was wonderful. This is really helping me." Several families have said, "This has been life changing." It's something beyond my wildest dreams because it can feel quite cold and distant practicing online. But for our mindfulness sessions, they're incredibly special. It feels like we're in the same room as one another.
I wonder if you can encapsulate for us what benefits you think you reap from your practice. So, what is it that comes out of your practice that keeps you going?
The Daisy Garland is always incredibly busy, and being a small charity, I have to wear lots of different hats. And so it's easy for me to fall into the trap of human doing and not human being. The practice has helped me recognize that there are moments throughout the day that I really do need to stop and drop in to myself, just into human being mode, and not just be always in overdrive. Also, the mindfulness has helped me to be kinder to myself. Not that I've ever been particularly unkind to myself. I guess I just haven't really noticed myself. So it's a lack of self recognition.
I think what you're talking about as well is bringing in that self compassion and thinking about what it is we need, which often we ignore.
Oh, we do. Mindfulness makes you think of yourself, and it makes you think of yourself with consideration and kindness. And that is so important.
What advice, Sarah, do you think you would give to somebody who might be feeling a bit skeptical about the practice of mindfulness, but who's tempted to give it a go?
I would say go into mindfulness with a completely open mind. Don't judge. Also, don't try to measure the impact or the outcome at all, not on a weekly basis or a daily basis. Don't think, oh, is this working? Am I getting better? Am I feeling better? Can I notice a change? You probably won't. Allow yourself just to lean into it gently with curiosity.
I am always curious about the practices that resonate with people, what sort of meditations people like to follow, and perhaps you could share with us one of the practices that you like.
Well, I think my very favourite practice is the mountain meditation, where you visualize a mountain, and that mountain is always there, standing tall with dignity and grace, despite the weather and everything that's going on around that mountain. And then you visualize that mountain into the core of yourself as though you are that mountain. That's incredibly powerful. I think families of children with special needs, they have to realize that they're that mountain. They are strong and they are always there. It's a powerful meditation for me.
Finally, I want to ask you whether you've got a quote or a poem that you could share with us from your journey into mindfulness.
Well, I've got both actually. My poem is called How Far Is It to the Land We Left? And it's by Naomi Shihab Nye. Although I have to say that the poem makes me feel really emotional. So, can I ask you to read it?
I love this poem. How Far Is It to the Land We Left by Naomi Shihab Nye. On the first day of his life, the baby opens his eyes and gets tired doing even that. He cries when they place a cap on his head. Too much, too much. Later, the whole world will touch him, and he won't even flinch.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
I'm going to ask you then to round this up with your quote, if I may.
Well, my quote is one of my favourite quotes from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And this is what he says: What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us.
Sarah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your personal reflections on your mindfulness practice and also telling us about the Daisy Garland and your journey so far. I really appreciate you coming on to Mindful Life, and you and I could talk all day, but I'm afraid we have to end it there. So thank you so much. For those of you who are interested in finding out more about the Daisy Garland, you can do so at the website thedaisygarland.co.uk. And that's all from me, Jill Higgins, at Mindful Life.